Your brain feels like it has 100 tabs open and none of them are actually loading or firing properly. Hi, I'm Dr. Julia. I'm a health psychologist with a background in neuropsychology. And one of the biggest things that so many smart, high-achieving women that I talk to worry about is really starting to wonder, is there something wrong with my brain? The reason that they start to worry about that is because they find that their focus just isn't there anymore. They tell me that they're sitting at their computer and their mind is just completely blank. And this starts to feel really exhausting and it causes their brain to be constantly overloaded, and that impacts everything. And when the brain is overloaded like that, of course, everything starts to feel harder. So when you're sitting down to do tasks and you can't seem to focus, the day starts to get longer and longer. When you are in a meeting and people are talking and you just can't seem to remember the conversation later, you have to go find that information somehow. And a lot of women that I talk to, when that ends up happening, that's when they really start to question, okay, is there actually something wrong with my brain? My brain feels broken. I feel like I have a million things to do, but none of it is actually getting done. That's kind of when they say, I feel like I have 100 tabs open in my brain, but none of them are actually loading. They're not able to focus and be productive in the same way. Now, one thing to mention is that a lot of times these memory issues, and I put that in quotes, they actually are focus issues. When the brain is constantly going, if we're not able to focus, that information's never really getting into our memory center to begin with. So even though it looks like a memory problem, it's actually a focus issue, and that often is related to a root cause that is not talked about nearly enough. But I'm here to tell you what is actually going on here so you don't have to worry anymore that your brain is broken or that something is seriously wrong with you. Something that's not talked about nearly enough is the negative impacts of a nervous system that has been in an overactivated state for way too long. Now you might be wondering, what does that even mean? When the nervous system's been in an overactivated state for a long time, a buildup of stress causes it to activate to the point where it just stays on. Probably heard of that fight or flight response. It's going to cause our body to gather all of our energy resources as quickly as possible. And at the same time, it actually shuts down the thinking center of our brain, because in a moment of danger, you don't have time to say, should I stay? Should I go? We just have to take action. Especially in modern day living, the nervous system starts to respond to everyday stressors like they're in danger. Work deadlines, a boss that's really maybe toxic or hard to get along with, conflicts with the family, even traffic. Everyday things starts to build to the point that the nervous system labels so many things as a danger and a threat that it doesn't allow you to operate in the same way anymore. One of the most frustrating places where people see this is when they're trying to sleep. So many women that I talk to, they tell me, I'm just so exhausted and drained. I cannot wait to put my head on the pillow and finally get a good night's rest. What ends up happening though, and you may have experienced this too, they get into bed, they're ready to go to sleep, and boom, off to the races, their thoughts go. 1,000,001 things, replaying conversations. Why couldn't I remember this earlier? The to-do list that keeps going and going and going. So even though they couldn't wait to go to sleep, now they're even more frustrated, they're sleepless, and now they're even more exhausted the next day, further adding fuel to this cycle. What is going to help is retraining the nervous system back to that calm place. When your nervous system gets calmer, then all of your cognitive abilities start to get restored. So when your nervous system's in a calm and balanced state, it's not treating everyday stressors as dangers or threats. Well, now your brain is actually safe to function and be able to focus. So you can get back to your high achieving self, your high performing self, and just feel better overall and not have to go through your day with so much just exhaustion and overwhelm. So if this has been you, I do want to encourage you that there's so much that can be done about this. There's no reason that you need to continue living in this way. I'm explaining a lot more about why this happens in the first place, how this impacts not just your brain, but so many other factors in your life, and what to do about it in an entirely free masterclass. Check out the link below.